Congratulations, Nigerians, as the country celebrates 57 years of independence. Well, this time of celebration has also been serving as a time to meditate on the state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and what she ought to represent. Now, these thoughts have formed the core for various forms of change in the country. At the heart of it are the issues of resource control, revenue allocation, and generation. The Minister of Finance has also said that states would not enjoy allocations from the federal account like before, but would be judged based on their contribution to the center. Now, how will this affect the states? Are the states maximizing the opportunities available to them to boost their internal revenue? These are the issues we will focus on this episode of Big Story. I'm Ini John Mekwa. The issue of revenue allocation in Nigeria rests on the shoulder of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. The Commission derives its powers and constitutional functions from paragraph 32 of Part 1 of the third schedule of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Commission accordingly has been vested constitutionally with powers and responsibilities to, among others, monitor the accruals into and disbursement of revenue from the Federation account, review from time to time the revenue allocation formula and principles in operation to ensure conformity with changing realities. The existing formula demands that the amount standing to the credit of the Federation account less the sum equivalent to 13% of the revenue accruing to the Federation account directly from any natural resources as a first-line charge for distribution to the beneficiaries of the derivative funds in accordance with the Constitution. Then the rest shall be shared to the federal government with almost 53%, states about 30%, and the local government 20%.
The relevant provisions of the Constitution governing the sharing of revenue amongst the three tiers of government is Section 162 of the Constitution, and that provision elaborately states that there shall be a federation account into which monies for the federation shall be paid, and upon the monies being paid into this account, the National Assembly shall legislate on a revenue sharing formula that shall not go less than providing that states from which revenues are generated into that account shall receive no less than 13%. Which is the derivation principle in the Constitution, which enables and allows oil-bearing states in the Federation, or the state that we call the oil-producing states in the Federation, to receive 13% revenue in addition to the revenues that they receive from the distributable pool from which all the states in the Federation also receive revenue according to that formula. Now, following the advent of the 1999 Constitution, that formula was adopted, and that is the formula that has governed up to now the sharing of revenues amongst the tiers of government in the Federation. The federal government on the one hand, and then the state government on the other. It's perhaps important to understand that under that provision, and I'm talking about Section 162, the money standing to the credit of the local governments as the third tier of government are also received by the states for and on behalf of the local government, so to speak. And so the states and in those 36 states are expected to maintain a joint account, which is called state-local government joint account, into which the revenue meant for the local governments in the states are paid.
The reaction of many Nigerians to this long-standing formula is not positive. Chartered accountant and public affairs analyst Edwin Obasoge is one who says the present allocation formula, which leaves most of the country's resources at the center, has deterred and reduced the developments which the country could have experienced.
It's not a federal system. It's a system where you have component units giving power to the center. And therefore, most of the resources should actually rest with those component units who just contribute what's enough to the center to take care of things like central security, the army, customs and immigrations, and those kinds of things. You know, so where you now have a system, and in fact, this was what it was around independence. We had at a time in this country where it was more or less 50-50. The regional governments held about 50% of the revenues and only contributed half to the center. But over time, especially during the military era, it's been skewed now towards the center holding 52%, like you said, and then the states sharing about 20-something, and then the federal government's over 700 local governments in the federation sharing the balance. Yeah, so it's an aberration, if you ask me. It shouldn't be in a federal system. Local governments are virtually non-existent because people don't even feel their impact anymore, you know. If we had a system where these people can be held accountable because they are elected officials, the chairman of local governments, the councillors, and then the state governors and the state houses of assemblies, they are all elected officials. By the time you leave these resources within these constituent units, the people who they govern will be able to have that direct impact and are able to hold them accountable. I mean, for example, you can't sit in the Lagos state that generates over 300 billion naira in internal generated revenue and sit in a street where the street is bad. No, people call on Lagos state government and their local government heads, you know, to account and repair their roads, fix their roads, do things. You take the Lekki Expressway, for example. You know, when some of us moved to Lagos recently, the roundabouts were creating traffic. And before you knew it, people started complaining. And the state government came, tested with a few roundabouts, they took them out and put traffic lights. And today they work. That's what happens when the resources are controlled by people who are closer to the grassroots.